Yeah. First I could think of was that money is the root of all evil. So,
Isn't it?
I mean, yeah, this requires an explanation, I think. So let me explain. So I think that we've seen a lot of examples of money ruining people's lives. There's no doubt, right? People win the lottery. Everybody thinks, ironically, I just went a couple weeks ago and tried to find the person that won the $1 billion Powerball just a couple months ago. I couldn't find the name. I'm not even sure they've gone public. I don't think they have to. So I can understand why. But you just see story after story of people making tons of money, winning the lottery, becoming a professional athlete, going viral, whatever. And it just leads to a lot of financial mistakes. It leads to a life of difficulty, people coming out of the woodworks asking for money, yada, yada, yada. And then in some of the circles that I'm in too, some of my community too, and there's a little bit of trying to be careful about money, not letting money control your life, not focusing on it so much. And there's some truth, I guess. I'll give the truth to this statement in some aspects, but money is a tool and all of us have to use it almost every day, probably every day to some level. Even if you aren't realizing you're using it every day to live in your house, to pay for your food, all the things that we have to do. And I personally believe that overly loving money can be something you want to be careful about. But if you're viewing money more as a tool or as a way to fund your lifestyle or to give to the people you love or to give to other people that don't have money, to steward it, I guess, in a way that offers it to other people or can be used for good things, or if you're viewing it that way, then I totally disagree with this statement that it's the root of all evil, because there are plenty of examples of people who have used it for good. And honestly, I know a number of people, and I read stories and watch videos of people who have become really wealthy, but you would just never know it because they don't inflate their lifestyle. They're super generous. They just don't let it go to their head. And those are great people because they've got a ton of capability to go and help a cause or start a business, and they've got flexibility. They've got independence, financial independence probably, and freedom and not as much stress, but they don't flaunt it in front of everybody either.
Thank you. That's a very nice compliment, Bjorn.
Yeah, exactly.
I try not
to. And the point here is that, Peter, I was just going to bring this up as a concern I see in your life.
Did you see my new watch? No, I
Yes.
agree. Doesn't this come from the Bible? Isn't this a Bible verse where it's misquoted that people say money's the root of all evil, but isn't it the love of money?
The love of money.
Right? Yeah, and
exactly.
I think that's the key, right?
Yeah, because you can see people who really love money. They love talking about it on social media. They love sharing every last thing they bought. They like showing off their new car or house or whatever. And that's, to me, like one of the issues of social media is then, like, we're both golfers. We've talked about that. But when you watch golf, you have to remember that it's a highlight reel. You're watching the best players, and then you're watching the best of the best players that particular week. And then you're seeing all of their good shots. You're never, ever seeing any of the bad shots. Like, you never hear about the person that went to Vegas and lost money. You only ever hear about the winners. So it can be easy to cue toward thinking that tons of money brings happiness, and it can to some level, but you do have to be, I think, careful that you're not overly relying on it, because if you are, it can go away too. And we see that with people who have so much, because then they just start thinking, I can afford anything I want. And not even people who win the lottery. There's all of us to some level struggle with this when you start making more money, to not inflate our lifestyle and to not rely on that continuing to come in. And so I just snag anyone from thinking that's where they should place their hope, because it can go away, especially if you're invested. If you're thinking short term, it can go away in the market. This one has always just been a tough one because I think it's misquoted from the Bible. And I personally feel like it can be used in good ways if you're careful.
And it's just a thing. I feel like it's implying that money's evil. And yet, then why would we ever use some of it? It's kind of like, well, if killing a person is bad, but I only kill a few people a day, not as many as this person, or it's just a thing, right? And, I'm going on the record. Killing other people is bad. But, it's just a thing. And I feel like it holds people back is one of the things. Like, oh, I don't want to be one of those people that only loves money. And so it almost makes you fearful of having success in some ways. And we work so much with trying to get people ahead in life. How hard is it to do that? On top of, if you have maybe some sort of idea of, I don't know if I want to make more money in my job because it could just ruin me. It could just corrupt me. And how can you move forward if you're afraid of what is there, I guess. So I just feel like it plants more unnecessary fear in people than it should. I would love to prove that lots of money won't corrupt me, because I'll be the first person with that $1 billion lottery winnings to show you that I will be exactly the same person, except
and I'll be glad to hold you
plush
accountable.
velvet. Excellent. I appreciate that.
I'll be right there with you the whole step of the way.